Hey, good day, everybody. This is Michael Kolbeck, your Truth Activator here for Rise Again. And I wanted to talk about something briefly today. So, I was writing an email, sending an email off earlier. I was talking about the arms of grace. I was talking about surrender. And yet, as I allowed my mind to work with this and allowed my being to work with this, a lot more came out. And that's what I want to share with you a little bit today. Because there was a number of things that I learned or that came to light as I pondered the question of what does it mean to surrender into the arms of grace? And why would there be a need to do that? So I want to show you something here. What is? What is? This is generally the place everybody gets tripped up. This is the place where I got tripped up. See, the simple fact is that unless you are acknowledging and facing what is, whatever the reality is of the current situation, then you are always going to be in a state of suffering. What we most spend our time doing is resisting what is. And resistance, when you start looking at it, it's amazing. Most people think that resistance is this. This is what is, and this is resistance to it. And I'm using all my force and all my might to keep whatever this is at bay. But that's only one form of resistance, and that's an active form of resistance. My favorite form of resistance that I used to go to, and still do on occasion, but used to go to like clockwork, was a passive form of resistance, which is simply this. I'm not looking at it. That means it's not there, right? I'm in denial. And that could show up in a number of different ways. It can be that you actually recognize the truth of what is, but you're choosing, no thanks. I don't want to deal with it. Or it can be simply, there's a feeling, there's something within you telling you that things are off, that something's not right, that you're not acknowledging what is. That's the way it was for me. And one of the things I used that has to do with a lot of the other conditioning and programming that was built into me was staying busy. Some people are workaholics. I was not a workaholic. Not in the sense that from a career standpoint, I worked my 40 hours. But beyond my 40 hours, I was doing everything under the sun all the time for everyone else. I was a completely other-oriented person. And so whether it be work or whether it was taking care of my family or whether it was taking care of this for the neighbor or whether it was taking care of that or whether it was doing this and doing that and whatever else needed to be done, well, that was me keeping busy. And that was me avoiding what is. It can take on many different forms, many different ways that we avoid what is in a passive sense. And what I mean by passive sense is we're not actively engaging with it. We're not actively resisting what is. We're aware, maybe, that something is there, that we should look at it, but we just keep going. It'll work itself out. That's one of the stories that we tell ourselves. That's one of the stories I told myself for years and years and years. Around the next corner, it'll work out. It'll work out. I just got to go a little bit further. I just got to give a little bit more. I just got to do a little bit more. I just got to this. I just got to that, or whatever it was. All the stories, all the rationalizations that we go through and that we create. Other ways that people avoid the truth of what is simply by distracting out amongst other things. Maybe they're going to see movies all the time. Maybe they're gaming all the time. Maybe they're doing something that's healthy. Maybe they go to the gym and they work out and they're involved in the community and they're doing all sorts of charitable things and whatever. Even though they're really healthy and they could be good and doing good, they can at times still be, if they are out of balance with the truth, then they can be actually distraction mechanisms to keep us from facing the truth of what is. Because when we face the truth of what is, it means we have to face what is in here. That's exactly why I wouldn't do it. If I knew that I had to turn around and look at what is, that was no different than me turning around and looking into a mirror of self. Because anything that is happening out here in the world is in some way or shape or form a reflection or an extension of you in terms of relationships. Now, some people can misinterpret that, and I'm not going to get into all that right here. But essentially, if you're not looking at the truth of what is in your experience at this moment, then you are denying the truth that wants to come through to you. It's much easier, it feels like, to either actively resist against something or passively resist against something by doing any of these other things. And a lot of people, there's distraction methods. A lot of people also medicate out, whether it's through alcohol, whether it's through weed, whatever it is. And I'm not saying any of these things are bad in and of themselves, because everything is always about balance and harmony. What's out of balance is when you are like this and you're just going against what is. You are in resistance to that thing. It's no different than if you have your back face to it. You're in resistance, just in a different way. You're in complete denial, thinking it's just going to go away. It's just going to take care of itself. If I pretend it's not there, it's never going to get me, right? And the reality of it is, what's it do? It continues to knock on your door. Time and time and time again. You can resist it in all of these different ways as much as you want. But until you start listening to that still small voice that speaks from within you and have the courage to turn and look into this mirror of self, into what is, you'll continue to see the same patterns show up in your life. Sure, there'll be different experiences, but they're just experiences that occur in different places with different faces. It's really what it comes down to. That was my pattern for sure. And so one day I decided, I'm going to look at this. And the fact is, life had kicked my ass hard enough. That was the only place left to go. It had tried getting my attention for so long. But anytime I even took a peek at what was there, my mind would jump in. Because if I accepted the truth of what is in that moment, then it meant I also had to look at other deeper truths within myself. Such as one of them, what was huge for me is, why am I allowing this? And this was in respect to some types of relationships that I was in. Why am I allowing this? Sure, maybe the other person is doing X, Y, and Z, and those are very damaging and destructive things, not only for them, but for the person they're in a relationship with, which was me at the time. But see, to face the truth of what is will then call forth other questions. Now, the beauty of this is you get to choose. You can turn around and you can look and you can go, oh, whoa. All right, I see it. I see it. And sometimes it's overwhelming. And you know what? That's okay. And the beauty of it is, as well, is you get to choose. You get to choose if you don't look. You get to choose if you want to actively resist. You get to choose if you kind of do what Sheldon does in The Big Bang Theory in one of the episodes. He's just trying to get a glance of it, you know? And you get to choose. I've turned, I've looked, I've faced what is now. I'm starting to see what is. Oh my gosh, that's triggering all kinds of stuff in me. That means this and this, and I don't know how to deal with this. How does this deal then? How does this all go back to surrendering into the arms of grace? What it goes back to is you have a choice. And once you become aware, or once the pain of life finally knocks hard enough at your door, because it's going to keep coming and keep knocking until you pay attention. That's what it did with me. I finally paid attention. I finally looked at what's there. And yeah, I had to face some hard truths. And those truths, they were painful. Those truths were absolutely heartbreaking and gut-wrenching, but they also set me free. And the first couple of times I looked at the truth of certain things in my life, and I saw it. And I knew everything was going to change. And then what did I do? I created all these stories to come in and to fill that gap and to say, no, wait, I can figure this out. I've got this. If I just do this, and I can make this work, and then this will work, and then this, everything will fall into place. And then I don't really have to deal with this. Yes, that's what I'm going to try. And that's what I did. And it worked horribly. Horribly. What I ended up having to do was finally surrender to what is. I had to let go. I had to turn and acknowledge this truth that was there and feel that. And then go through the process of letting go, of not trying to control it anymore. Because when I am in that place, then I am centered here. I am acknowledging the truth. I am acknowledging the feelings that come with that, whatever those feelings may be. I am also acknowledging the freedom I have to choose. I can continue to deny the truth is, or I can just stay in this process of surrender, this process of letting go. A lot of people, they believe surrender means giving up, and it's not giving up. Surrender can be thought of as just opening up, letting go, rather than me trying to come up with all of the ways that I was going to fix things and make things better and get around that which I didn't want to face. Surrender allows me to just say, this is what it is right now. And acknowledge the feelings that I have inside. And that brings you to a place where you can finally connect with the truth that is within. And when you connect with that truth, and this is the really important part of all of this, that is when a gateway, a portal, or space opens up. It's in that surrender, in that letting go, that space opens up and truth can truly come through. And you can feel that. And then you can choose something new. And you can maybe recognize this isn't in alignment with me. This isn't in alignment with who I am, with what I desire. And I've been down this path. I don't want to go down this path any further, at least not this way. Because the one thing that's surrendering and allowing that truth to come through is that the truth will always set you free. Now you have the option again. Once the truth comes through, you can deny it just like I did. You can deny it and say, no. I'm not going to deal with you right now. And it will honor that for you, but it will keep knocking. It will keep coming. It's just part of the process. Not everything is a one and done. Sometimes we have to see the truth. And then we have to take 3 steps back away from the truth and go, oh, hell no. And then life gets a little bit hard. Relationship gets a little bit tricky. Whatever that thing is. And then you have to look at the truth again. And maybe this time you go, okay, maybe you're only going to step back a half a step. And maybe over the course of practice, you get to the point where there's the truth. And actually, instead of surrendering, you go even further. Instead of just surrendering and letting go, you actually lean into it. And that's a whole other level of surrender, is being open to that, because it's from a place where you've learned to trust yourself. You've learned to trust life, source, God, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't mean that everything will always be perfect. Because if everything was perfect and went the way we wanted all the time, there would be no growth. And if there's no growth, there's no point in us being here and having experiences, because the only way we grow is through experiences. So I'm inviting you and encouraging you that if you feel like there's an area of your life where you're not looking at what is, to just take that moment. We expend, and I have expended in my life, so much energy being in resistance to what is. It's very clear to see how much energy is involved in resistance to what is when it's an active form of resistance like this. We can feel it. We can feel it in our muscles. We can feel it in our body. But when it's like this, and we're just going the other direction, trying to run from it as fast as we can, or we're sticking our head in the sand, which is more passive, it doesn't feel like there's a ton of energy used in that resistance, but there is. Denial, running, going directly against it, all of those types of things will expend your energy. And you have the choice to take that energy, and instead of expending it in some form of distraction or medicating out or some type of passive resistance or active resistance, you have the choice to take that energy. So I'm going to be here, and I'm going to face this truth, whatever this is. And I'm going to open to it, and I'm going to surrender, and I'm going to allow my body, my being, to bring to me what is needed in this moment, and trust me, it will. Like I said, sometimes it won't feel good, but what it will do every single time that you surrender into those types of situations, into those types of moments, is it will set you free. And it will open up space for new things to come into your life. When you're here, or when you have your head stuck in the sand, or you're running that direction, or whatever it is, there's no space for anything else to come in. It can't catch you because you're running so fast, or you have your head in the sand, and it's kind of like, well, I see the guy's got his head in the sand. I just don't think I'm going to deal with this right now. So, yeah, I'm not going to come in and bring him these great gifts right now because he's clearly in denial on some things. Or versus this, where you're putting all your energy here, this is coming back at you. There's no space for anything else to come into your life. And I encourage you to look in this mirror of self, to look into what is, and to feel, hear what is truth. And allow to come forth whatever it is. Give yourself permission that whatever needs to come forth in that moment comes forth. There are no bad feelings. There are no bad emotions. Emotions just are. They're just energy. It's the body and the being's way of processing things. So I hope this was helpful for you. Again, this is Michael here for Rise Again. Blessings and love.